Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you, Scottsdale Chamber, for this amazing opportunity. This food is, wow. I am excited to be here, ladies. This has been it's been a really amazing journey, and I'm excited to share with you today part of the journey, and also to leave you with some keys to changing the trajectory of your life through empowered leadership. Since many of you are still eating, I was going to have you say something, but I'll save that for later. We don't want everyone spitting on one another. That won't be a good thing. Say, Dr. Velma had me spitting. No, you will not say that about me today. All right, so let's dive right into it. This is who I am, I guess. This is who I am. Is that me, y'all? All right. Y'all, I am a Houston native, okay? So please excuse the country grammar, okay? I know the people here in Scottsdale and in Arizona, y'all don't have like the country grammar, so just excuse the country grammar today. Any more Houston natives in here? Is it just me? Any Texans? Oh, okay, we got a Texan in the building. All right, Dallas. All right, so I do have some fellow Texans in the building. All right, let's dive into this. I have so much to talk about, and I want you're gonna want to take some notes. All right, that's the first thing. You're gonna want to take some notes. This discussion today it's very needed. I don't know why I keep going out. Hold on 1 second. Can y'all hear me? Mic check. Okay. It's very needed. Leadership is very, very important. I'm used to just holding. Can I just hold this and kind of? All right, there we go. All right, because I get excited, and so just standing still it kind of ends me off. So I want to talk a little bit about leadership today, and the reason leadership is important is because we cannot continue to operate the way that things have been. How many of you know that it is time for change? Can you raise your hand if you agree with me? It is time for change. Today you're going to discover the leader within you. And I'm going to share a little bit about my journey. But one of the things I want to a few of the things I want to highlight today is that one thing all leaders have in common is not education, knowledge, or networking. It is a spirit. It is the spirit of leadership, who you are at your core. When you think in the spirit of leadership, you begin the process of becoming an effective leader. Becoming an effective leader. I want to first talk about some of the things that we are dealing with every day in the different systems of the world. Nothing happens without leadership. Leaders establish governments, start businesses, make scientific discoveries, and this is how ultimately us as human beings, we were born to be a leader. And many of us have kind of just, sat back very passive because for whatever reasons, we think that we don't have what it takes to be a leader. But you have what it takes to be a leader. Okay? Nothing succeeds without leadership. Nothing succeeds without leadership. Leaders develop ideas. Leaders are innovative. Leaders are trailblazers. We need dynamic leaders to do the work that needs to be done right now in this time. Nothing is transformed without leadership. Unless leaders begin to think or act differently, circumstances remain the same or become worse. We don't want to remain the same. We cannot remain the same. Nothing grows if things remain the same. Okay? Nothing develops without leadership. Absolutely nothing. So today is going to be a very transformational day for you because you're going to leave with some insights in terms of changing the way that you think about leadership. This is one of my favorite quotes. Don't ever make the mistake of telling yourself that you have nothing to offer the world. God does not create any junk, and you were born for greatness. It's time to get fired up about life again. If you woke up this morning, there is a purpose for your life. There is a purpose for your life if you woke up this morning. And that purpose is connected to the leader inside of you. The purpose is connected to what it is that you have been called to do for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Whether you're young or old, I've come to tell you that you were born to be a leader. This is my team in Atlanta. Go back. Nothing happens without leadership. And again, leadership starts with you. Leadership starts with you. If you're waiting for things to happen that you know yourself needs to happen, and you're waiting, you're not in a good position. Because leadership starts with you. Leadership starts with you opening your mouth to talk about the things that need to be changed in the world. I want to look at some very, very startling stats. I want you to take a look at this. 56% of the 87 million millennials in the country are white as compared to 72% of the 76 million members of the baby boomer generation. Companies with higher than average diversity had 19% higher innovation revenues. And you might say, what does diversity have to do with leadership? Well, it has a lot to do with it, okay? Because if you are not innovating, you're not growing. If your teams are not diverse, you're not growing. 56% of the 87 million millennials. Companies with higher than average diversity had 19% higher innovation revenues. So diversity is and it's not about the revenues, but it's about doing the right thing. Okay? It is about doing the right thing. A study by Harvard Business Review found that the most diverse companies were also the most innovative, allowing them to market a greater range of products and services. We've been able to see the growth in companies that we work with from a diversity perspective. It is very, very important. And a lot of people, diversity is not just a buzzword, okay? And a lot of people are trying to figure out what does diversity mean? Okay? How is this applicable to me? Let me just share this with you. Diversity is a result of doing the right thing. So when you do the right thing, then you become diverse as a result of that. And so oftentimes, we're trying to figure out what do we do, how, Where do we start? Why is this important? You know, why now? Why now? Why now? We've experienced a lot of inequality in the nation, all over the world. And now it's a very, very important time to use your voice for change. How many of you are entrepreneurs? Okay, we have a few entrepreneurs. All right. So many of you are in the workforce, and that's great. Many of you are in positions to use your voice for change. You can no longer wait. You have to use your voice for change. This is my 11-year-old son. And he walks around and he attends some of the meetings with me, and this is his little slogan: you were born to be a leader. And it's interesting that an 11-year-old knows how important leadership is. An 11-year-old. Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration generated by passion, motivated by a vision, birthed by a conviction, which is produced by a sense of purpose. I want to ask you this question. Have you discovered your life purpose? Have you discovered what on earth are you here for? That's a very important question to ask yourself. And if you have not, it's important that you begin to understand, process, and figure out what problem you were placed on this planet to solve. Many of us we're just passing through life without discovering what our purpose in life is. The purpose of your life is attached to gifts that's on the inside of you. You may say, what's a gift? Well, a gift is an inherited capacity that was placed on the inside of you before you were even born. And this is why purpose and leadership is so very important. I have a team of 25. I was just having this conversation with Amber the other day. We're growing so fast. I don't know some of the people in the company, but one of the things that I have realized is that for the generation that's coming up, they're looking for leadership. They're looking to be empowered. They're looking to be inspired. They're chasing after their purpose. And so we have, through research and the work that we do, we're learning that a lot of companies, they're having a very high retention rate when it comes to retaining people in their workforce. And the reason people are having a hard time right now getting employees is because they don't have the proper leadership infrastructure in place. People need to be empowered. You yourself need to be empowered. The old stale stuff is just not working anymore. I hate to say it. I'm telling you, it's not working anymore. Staleness is not working. Not being diverse is not working. Not having the right leaders, it's not working. We can no longer hire just to check a box. You know, a lot of people are just hiring to check a box, and you're not getting the results that you need for your company to grow. A lot of companies that have been around a long time are having to close their doors or, went bankrupt. I mean, it's a lot going on. But it's the companies that are innovating, that are diversifying their workforce, that's strengthening their supply chains, that's working with underrepresented communities. Those are the companies that are growing, and it's amazing to see SRP as a sponsor. SRP is an example of a very innovative company, very, very diverse company. I mean, they're not just talking it, but they're walking it. It's a lot of companies that's talking. All right, so these are the kind of leaders we don't need, and I think the reason why this is important, and I'm going to get to a little bit about how I ended up here, so we'll start. These are the leaders we don't need, and I would highly suggest that you take a picture of this. I don't know if Lisa and Mark, if this presentation will be sent out or not, but just in case, I need you to take a picture of this. Because if you have any leaders in your companies that are part of this group of 5, you need to do something different. You need to do something different. Politics without principles. We don't need any more politicians who have no principles. Politics with no principles. I mean, it sounds like it's common sense, but it's not. Okay? Pleasure without conscience. That's important. We must not allow leaders in our lives who pursue pleasure at the expense of conscience. That's serious. Because these are some of the leaders that's in our companies. Number 3, wealth without work. And this is not a message or a keynote presentation that is like the norm, because a lot of people are not saying what needs to be said. Freedom. Wealth without work, it will destroy us people who pursue prosperity but don't want to perspire. If you don't work, you're a parasite to humanity. There's a lot of people within the workforce that are not doing what they should do to build other people. Then knowledge without character will destroy us. There's a famous book that reads, "Our people perish for a lack of knowledge." A lack of knowledge. We gotta have knowledge. And there's also a famous scripture that where there's no vision, the people perish. That's important. There are educated people who have no character. And just because you're educated, it doesn't make you a leader. It doesn't make you a good leader. Some people have no moral conviction, and we need leaders that are strong leaders. And then last but not least, businesses without morality will destroy us, and this is why corruption emerges in developing communities and pushing the economy forward. People want to achieve financial security at the expense of morality. Ladies and gentlemen, and we are all one body with many moving parts. We're one body with many moving parts. That's important. We need one another. I want to talk a little bit about my journey. I am from Houston, Texas. I'm a Houston native by way of Atlanta, by way of now here in Arizona. I started a company called ThinkZilla 10 years ago. Well, November will be 10 years. And prior to ThinkZilla, I had my share of, I want to call it failed businesses, but the reason I can't use that word is because everything that I learned through my failures, it's prepared me to be the leader that I am today. We have to embrace failing forward fast before you can reach your destiny. Many of you are afraid to put things in place to push this nation forward because you're afraid. You're afraid of what people may say. You're afraid. You got to come out of being afraid. You got to come out of being afraid. You were created for much more than what you're doing. We were all created for much more than what we're doing. So to fast forward, 3 companies failed. I had 2 jobs in my life. I worked for Google and I worked for a segregation firm. And I then pursued entrepreneurship where my first 3 companies failed, and I decided that I was not going to give up, and I just kept on going. And through that, after that, I started ThinkZilla. We started as a marketing and PR company, working with small businesses, and then we began to transition based on the problem that we're solving. How many of you know that there are underrepresented communities? How many of you know that if you are in a position to offer resources, that is the result of being diverse? How many of you know that? So 7 years ago, we started getting a lot of inquiries from public and private entities that were looking to engage communities, that were looking to provide resources for minorities. And we began to build programs that we have been able to help more than 8,000 women in the past 4 years build successful and scalable companies. That is wonderful. That is right. Why don't we clap? It's okay. 8,000 women that are creating job opportunities. And then I'll share something else with you. There are companies that have social responsibility programs. How many of you are familiar with supplier diversity? I know SRP is, but how many companies are familiar with supplier diversity? Okay. Supplier diversity is a business model that companies use to engage minority companies. Minority companies that are certified and have the capacity to work, either provide a product or service. There are not only tax benefits for working with minorities, but again, we want to do the right thing. I want you to, I'm going to go back just a little bit here. Companies failed, started ThinkZilla, helped all of these women and helping companies across the country, even right now, with their diversity programming. But in all of this, my purpose in life is to be an intentional agent and a voice for change. I recognize that nothing changes if you don't change. Nothing changes if if you do not change. So keys to becoming an effective leader for change is being an intentional agent and voice for change. The second thing is faith. Faith is the substance of the things that we hope for, but it's the evidence of the things that we don't see. So many of you are hoping for change. But you notice it's faith without works. Faith without action is dead. So we can hope all day. But if we're not exercising faith, then nothing changes. Faith is very, very important. It's important. Because if you're seeing where you can be an agent of change in the area that you are in, and you're not exercising faith, and you're not walking in your leadership ability, then we're not moving forward, ladies. And we gotta move forward. Abraham, how many of you know about Abraham built the ark? Any Abraham knowers? Abraham built an ark. Nobody knows about Abraham that built an ark before it started raining? Noah. I'm sorry, that's why y'all looking at me crazy. That's right, Noah. How many Noah? Okay, how many Noah? That's right. Now, y'all would have put your hand up about Abraham. I would have been like, OMG. Noah began to build the ark before there was rain. People thought he was crazy. That was faith. People thought he was crazy. And I go in rooms now and people probably think I'm crazy. Like, what is this woman talking about? We're talking about diversity. Baby, we're in 2022. Okay? Let me hear you say 2022. Don't be stale. Let me hear you say 2022. We are in 2022, and it is time for us to exercise faith and use our voice to be an agent for change. If you're in a position and you're just there because, they're checking a box, this needs to be the very last day that you're there just because you were hired because they needed to check a box. Because when you stand in front of your Heavenly Father, are you going to hear, "Well done, my faithful servant"? Are you going to hear that? I don't know about you, but when I'm not doing the right thing, I get convicted and I can't sleep. And that's why this is so important to me. We're here in Arizona to help with change. Are we where we need to be? No. But that's where faith comes in. Improving your team to improve your organization. Leadership is very, very important. And if you don't feel as though you have the skill set to be a good leader, then you need to hire great leaders for your company. You need to hire great leaders and you need to hire great managers. And sometimes it's not about what's on the resume, but it's about who that person is at the core of them. Because one thing I've learned is that you can help a person that wants to help the world, but you cannot help a person that has a lot of credentials that doesn't care anything about the growth of the world. So sometimes we gotta start looking at people. Who are they? Who are these people at the core? Because it's important to know who you're hiring. It's important that you have great leaders that can inspire and empower the people within your organization, or you're gonna have some problems. Improving your team is very important, and we have a bi-weekly leadership meeting across all of our organizations. And then I also have something that's called spiritual development. We have a spiritual development session for our company because I believe that this is what we need to be strong. We can't do this alone. We cannot do this alone. So it's very important that you understand that improving your team to improve your organization. And last but not least, you need to be a leader and not a follower. Because leaders create other leaders. And then if we're agents for change, then the leaders that we create, they need to be able to create other leaders. Not a whole bunch of followers. Yes, we need followers too, but producing other leaders is important. You can't have a company with a lot of followers because you're not going to be progressive. That's it. That's very important. So in conclusion today, ladies, you must dare to lead on purpose if you're going to make a difference. And you may say, why does she keep talking about making a difference? Because you're placed here, you were put on this planet to solve a problem. So that's why this is why leadership is important, because if you don't lead, who will? Think about it. If you don't stand up today for something, my grandmother used to tell me, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I didn't really understand what all that meant. But now I get it. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to stand for something, okay? We're going to stand for something. Let me hear you say, we're going to stand for something. Okay? Y'all, it's okay to smile. It's okay to, be empowered. It's okay. I know that sometimes we feel as though we cannot be ourselves. But no, you can smile, you can talk, you can hug someone. That's what leadership is. It's about love too. Love conquers all. I think sometimes we just fall into whatever the world wants us to, just be still, better than other people. No, no one is better than no one. As women leaders, our obligation is to fight for equality and change. Equality is important. And this is why I'm all around the U.S. and other countries sometimes talking about this. Because if I don't, then who will? I understand that people want to do different, but they don't know what steps to take. You can no longer use that as a defense mechanism. It's too much information out. And as women, we were born to lead. And I'm sorry, Mark, I hate to, be the very bad news here, but women, we rock. Ladies, now, for those of you who really rock, don't look to the side and see who's looking at you. Don't try to see who's watching. Just say, I rock. I rock. There you go. I see some people looking to the other side. No, don't worry about who's looking at you, okay? Because you're going to need to stand in front of somebody. You're going to be there by yourself. They're not going to be on side of you. When you need to stand there, you're going to need to say, you're going to need to hear, well done. They're not going to be there. Too many of us worry about what other people think, and that's not leadership. Leadership is being very bold. What's very interesting is, I want to talk a little bit about a lion. What good is a lion if there is no roar? So then I was talking last night to one of my clients, and let me tell you something. She said, you know what, Velma, this is interesting. She said, and why is it that the lions roar? I said, you know what? Yeah, I know. That's a good question. So this is what we've come up. Lions roar when they are looking for a mate to announce the fact that they are ready to mate, when they are hungry, to warn off other animals, to communicate with other lions in the pride, or to locate members when the pride is away on a hunt, or simply as a show of strength. Now, think about if a lion does not roar. Think about that. There's a purpose for the roar of the lion. You may say, what does this have to do with me today? It is time for you to roar. Okay, it's time for you to roar. When you think about your purpose, let me, because I can talk all day, but no, let me just get back here. But when you think about your purpose, I want you to think about a fish. The purpose of a fish is to swim. The purpose of a bird is to fly. And the purpose of human beings are to solve problems. You will not solve problems if you're not a leader. So you have to be a leader to fight for equality and change. Lastly, in the book of Proverbs, for lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. I challenge you today to become a leader and an agent for change. Lastly, there are some cards on your table. I leave you with this question. What is your life's blueprint? And I hope that if you've not taken any other keynote presentation serious, I hope that you take this very serious, because things are being exposed. But for those of you who are doing the right thing, you will sustain for such a time as this. Thank you. Yeah. So ThinkZilla. When I started, so prior to ThinkZilla, I had a company. It was a luxury hair extension salon, and we were approached by a network to do a reality show segment in the salon, and they planted bats in the salon. And it's a long story, but anyway, ThinkZilla. I thought about something big. I said, you know what? If we're going to create change, we need to think about, big, something big. So I began to think about Godzilla. Godzilla is big. I'm like, okay, Godzilla. But I knew that I couldn't trademark Godzilla. So I began to think about other names that symbolize doing things big. And I came up with ThinkZilla. How cool is that? ThinkZilla, home of the big ideas and great results.
Any more questions? Another question for Dr. Trayham?
I'll ask a question, and that is, since we're all mostly women in here, can you talk about women and helping each other? Because sometimes what some women may have experienced throughout their careers is rather than coming together and a lifting up that some women have experienced, maybe a little of the tearing down. And so can you talk about the importance of supporting one another, mentorship, coaching, sponsoring people through their careers?
Absolutely. That's really good, and I'm grateful that you asked this question. Ladies, if we do not work together, working together and empowering one another is very important. I've learned that people have, I call it a crab in a bucket syndrome, because when you're broken or you hurt, then hurt people hurt people. I believe that more people, more women, we need to learn how to forgive. Let's forget about what happened last week, last month, what this person may have done last year. Forgiveness is the first thing, because a lot of us are holding a lot of things on the inside that we need to let go of. We need to let go of. And then there is a false imagination in our minds sometimes that have us to believe that this person may not like us, or this person may not want to work with us, or I'm afraid, that whole fear thing. And we have to get out of that. And so how do we do that? Well, we can start today by, before you leave, hug 3 people, get 3 people's cards, and start to collaborate and start to connect. It's not okay to just sit and not do anything or say anything. And so that's number one, and this is one of the main reasons why we've cultivated this community of women around the world to help empower other women. And empowerment is important. But last but not least, I think that a simple act of kindness goes a long way. We gotta be kind to one another. We have to be kind to one another. The Bible tells us to do unto others as you have them do unto you. These are principles that we need to live by. But because they've taken it out of the corporate infrastructure, we forget we gotta get back to the basics. And I'm not saying you need to go around saying scriptures and all of that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to begin to lead by example. Be the change that we want to see, starting with ourselves and not waiting for someone else to do it.